Coach Lance here with CFSJ's Inside the Box. Whether you have tight times or tight spaces, we've got you covered. What you're about to follow along with is a 1-hour class shrunk into a 10-minute video. How do we do it? We create pause points, we write out equipment lists, and we give you substitution options to where there is zero thought on your part. So whether you have a hotel room, a hotel gym, or you're lucky enough to be outside, we're going to give you that great CFSJ feel when you're not at CFSJ. So let's take a look at the equipment list. Most of the times fairly minimal, and a lot of times you can substitute these things for things you have around your house, whether it be a water bottle or a filled up backpack. So let's go ahead and grab your phone, let's check out this equipment list, and let's get going. Every class, we're going to start off with 2 minutes of cardio. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a bike or a rower or a treadmill or the outside, let's go ahead and do 2 minutes of rowing or jogging or biking. If you don't have that, then let's start off with some jumping jacks, some step back burpees, some double unders, or some other method of your choice that you can do in the tight space that you're in. If you need a suggestion, let's go ahead and do step back burpees. The thing I love most about step back burpees is they hit everything at once. So instead of making this a dynamic, we're going to make this a very slow, grindy kind of movement, stepping back, engaging that plank on the way forward, driving those hips open, getting that nice hinge and that hamstring stretch, and working the plank and the push-up. By the time you've done about 15 of these, everything is ready. Now again, it's your choice, so let's go ahead and start those 2 minutes now. Now that we got that cardio out of the way, let's move on to our dynamic warm-up. These 4 movements are going to activate the lower half of the body in preparation for today's workout. Starting off with 10 Cossack squats. Let's watch Coach Devin. He keeps his feet forward, stance wide. As he tracks his knee over his foot, he's working at keeping his chest upright. Moving from right to left, give me 10. Next, 10 Samson stretch. The pro tip on this one is don't let the back knee touch the ground. Make a big reach for the sky as you drive that hip forward for a great hip flexor stretch. Next, the standing glute stretch. This can be done on your back if balance is a bit of an issue, but let's challenge the balance, cross the leg. Don't worry about how deep you go on this, just make sure that you're getting your hamstrings and your glutes to stretch. And last, 10 Spider-Man stretches. This one straight ahead, no twists today. Dropping the elbow and the chest to the ground each time, alternating, returning to the plank in between movements, give me 10. Now, if there's something that you've picked up on from a previous class that works really well for you, go ahead and throw it in there. Pause, and we'll meet you at the next section. Today's activation involves 3 hamstring posterior chain movements. Starting off with split squats, moving on to single leg glute bridges, and then finishing off with dead bugs for the core. Let's watch Coach Devin in that split squat. This could be referred to as the poor man's Bulgarian. With both feet on the ground, no elevation here today, you're going to drop that back knee directly down and drive your head straight up. There is no returning to a center stance on this. We're going to do 5 right and 5 left. Now, moving on to the single leg glute bridge. Bringing the right heel in towards the butt, letting the left leg extend long, pushing the glutes until the hips raise, creating a straight line between knee, hip, and shoulder. Don't worry about raising the long leg any farther than it needs to. Just get both knees back to the same point. Go ahead and give me 10. And last, the dead bugs. Starting on your back, knees and hips at 90 degrees, hands directly over the chest, pulling into a slight hollow, alternating arm and leg movements. This is kind of like a reverse bird dog. Go ahead and give me 10. And as always, we're going to do 2 rounds of this. So if you need time, go ahead and pause it. If it makes more sense for you to go ahead and rewind and follow along with Coach Devin, go ahead and do so. But we'll see you again at the next segment. Today's strength is an all lower body day, working Romanian deadlifts and front foot elevated split squats. It's a mouthful, but you can think of it as the exact opposite as a Bulgarian. Let's go ahead and watch Coach Devin do the kettlebell Romanian deadlift. Now, this also works if you have a dumbbell. Keeping long legs, knees slightly bent, working that pulled position. When we actually get a hold of a barbell, this is really going to help our pulls for our Olympic lifts like the clean and the snatch. If your weight isn't that challenging, you can make this more effective by going even slower on the way down. You're going to perform each Romanian deadlift with a slow negative. That means once you get to the top, returning back down to the ground, you're going to let it take at minimum 3 seconds. By the time you get done with all 12 to 15 of these, you're definitely going to feel it in the hamstrings. Moving on, we've got 6 to 8 front foot elevated split squats. This can be done without weight if this is an unfamiliar movement to you. Because the front foot is elevated, take extra care not to let the back knee crash. It's going to take a little more concentration and a lot more strength to drive yourself out of that bottom position, unlike a normal lunge. Definitely a lot harder than a walking lunge. Now, there's not a whole lot to this today. We've got 4 minutes to perform 12 to 15 Romanian deadlifts and 6 to 8 front foots each leg. So we're looking at somewhere between 24 and 36 total repetitions today. Reminder, for the front foot elevated squats, if this movement is challenging by itself, you don't need to do weight. Only add weight when you actually have control of the movement. Now, let's go ahead and get our timer set for 4 minutes. We're going to do 4 rounds. There should be more than enough time to get all of these reps together and still have a decent amount of rest to let those muscles recuperate. Let's go ahead and begin now, and I'll see you at the next section. Let's talk about today's Metcon. The WOD, Captain Crunch, is a very classic style of CrossFit workout, a straight ahead 4-rounder of 3 movements. We start off with a 100-meter farmer carry, move into 21 tuck crunches, and 12 dumbbell thrusters. This is one of those kind of Metcons that you'll thank yourself for hitting hard when you finally get back to a pull-up structure and work on toes to bars. Let's watch Coach Devin demonstrate these 3 movements. First, we've got the farmer carry. Shoulder blades back. If you only have one implement, we'll turn it into a suitcase carry, and we'll switch halfway through the 100 meters. Next, moving on to 21 tuck crunches, laying on your back, starting off in a slight hollow. It's a baby V-up, bringing the knees up, reaching towards the ankles. If this isn't working today, go ahead and revert to sit-ups. And lastly, 12 dumbbell thrusters. If you have 2 dumbbells, go ahead and double the challenge, but otherwise single arm. We're going to do 6 of these. Let's notice Coach Devin. With these thrusters, starting in a perfect front rack, shoulder blades back, elbows forward, dropping the hips below the point of the knee, keeping the chest upright. In those last 2 inches of stand, really exploding through the hips and turning this into a push press. The idea is to think about this eventually as a top to bottom movement. Starting with the dumbbell overhead after your first rep, think about pulling that thing down to a straight line. As it passes the point of the nose, let the hips start to break and begin that squat already. Don't bottom out at the bottom of this, and definitely don't lose tension. Now, the intention of a workout like this is to push straight through. You have one movement, the farmer walk or the suitcase carry, that may challenge your grip. However, it's going to allow you to bring your cardiovascular back down. From there, you're going to hit the 21 tuck crunches and the 12 dumbbell thrusters pretty hard. You should be able to go unbroken on both of these movements. All right, let's go ahead and hit a playlist. Let's make it something funky today. Go ahead and set your timer. This is a count up timer. Let's get our things together. And 3, 2, 1, go.